So, as I said in the last video, I would look at part B of the 2014 paper 1 question 13, and we looked at the height of the rocket. The next part is we need to establish if the rocket will or won't reach a height of 70 meters. There are two ways to do this. First of all, you could think about it as, well, we can calculate the maximum height, and if that maximum height is less than 70, then it can't reach 70 meters. If it is 70 or above, then the answer is yes. The second way we could do this is we can equate our function for the height to 70. We can equate that and we can find out if there's any real solutions to that equation. We'll look at the second of those first. So the second method was that we're going to equate 16t minus t squared. We're going to equate that to 70, and we're going to find if there's any solutions. And what we can do for that is we can use what's known as the discriminant. And as it is here, it is, you find b squared take away 4ac. If that's less than 0, it's no real roots. If it's equal to 0, we have two real and equal roots. And if it's greater than 0, we have two real and distinct roots. But what do I mean by the discriminant? Well, first of all, we need to get it into the form of a standard quadratic equation. So I will go down and I will write this in blue. The bit above was just the guide. So we have the 16t, which is a function of the height, 16t minus t squared, and that equals 70. Now, if we take the 70 away from both sides, we get 16t minus t squared minus 70 equals 0. But having a negative coefficient of t squared, remember the coefficient is the number in front, so minus t squared equals minus 1 multiplied by t squared. We want that to be a positive, so we're going to multiply both sides of that equation by minus 1, so we get minus 16t plus t squared plus 70 equals 0. But you want to write the equation in the form at squared plus bt plus c equals 0. You need it in this form in order to compare the a, b and c, in order to get b squared take away 4ac, the discriminant. Now we want to rewrite that. The t squared can go here, and we have a is 1. We have our b is, bt is minus 16t, so I'm going to color code this. So if we want to compare this, we can then put the purple we put minus 16t and that is b is minus 16 have a look at the coefficients, we are comparing two equations. We are comparing this equation and eventually this equation. Then the plus 70 just stays as it is. Plus 70 equals 0. So we get, and C is 70. But what are we going to do with this information? Well, if we have a look back up here, we have this information about the discriminant, and if you're asked in an exam for the nature of the roots, then you calculate b squared take away 4ac, and you use the wording given here. So you have to justify the answer by describing the nature of the roots. And if you want to pause the video and take a note of these, then go ahead. But these are the words that you want to use. But back to what we had, we're going to then calculate b squared take away 4ac, and we get b squared take away 4ac equals minus 16 squared take away 4. Sorry, I'll go back. Minus 16 squared take away 4 times 1 times 70. And there's no calculator permitted in this exam, so you're going to have to do without. So minus 16 squared, that's 256. Take away 4 times 1 times 70 is 280. And doing that is minus 24. So we have the discriminant is minus 24, and that's less than 0. So we can say that there are no real roots or no real solutions to, and the equation that we started with, I'm going to put a colour code in this one, and I'm going to put a star, and we're going to say that there are no real solutions to the equation with the pink star. And so it does not reach 70 meters. I apologise, this is a bit messy. So it will not reach 70. And that's it. So because there's no solutions, there's no value of t which satisfies that equation, so it does not reach the height of 70 meters. Now that's one method. The other method is we can calculate the maximum height, and I'm going to go down a bit and I'm going to explain that one. So there's the question again, and we're going to find the solutions. So we get 16t. So we're going to find the solutions, or the roots of 16t minus t squared equals 0. Our common factor is the t, and that's going to be t16 minus t equals 0. And if we have a look, the solutions are 0 and 16. We have a maximum turning point. So the maximum turning point will correspond to the highest height that the rocket can reach. And we know that the maximum turning point the t value will be halfway between the roots. So if t is 0 and t is 16, at those two values the height is 0 and 16 are the roots. So if we go halfway along, that is t is 8, and at t equals 8 there's going to be a vertical axis of symmetry. So we have this. This is not neat, but I will be rubbing this out in a second. We have this, and at t is 8 we have this vertical line of symmetry, and our maximum turning point is dictated by the value t is 8. So once we find that value of t, we then want to find the maximum height. And how we do that is we then substitute t is 8 back into the equation. So we substitute t is 8 back into the initial equation, and we get h8 equals 16 times 8. Remember the function notation. If we substitute the t for 8, so we have h of 8, then that means we substitute all of the t's for an 8. So 16 8 minus 8 squared. Well, 16 eighths is 128. Take away 64 equals 64. And that is less than 70. So the maximum height is less than 70, so it won't reach 70 meters. But regardless of which method you choose, the important part is that you justify the answer, and I will explain why that's the case in a second. So we can say by common sense that no, it doesn't. No, it does not reach. And your justification should both answer the question and explain exactly why that's the case. It's not enough to write no. You have to explain why it doesn't. And we give this line above and it says 64 is less than 70, so that is the justification. The marking scheme requires both the answer and the justification, and of course the working to get to that point. So we'll have a look now at the marking scheme for both methods. We'll start with this method, the discriminant method, and I will get the marking up. The method 3 is the discriminant method, and the first mark would be for using the discriminant, or using b squared minus 4ac. So the first mark would be any mention of b squared take away 4ac would be 1 mark. Second of all would be for finding the discriminant and making it clear that it's less than 0. So you have to show that the discriminant is negative. If you do that, you get 2 marks. Even if you get the discriminant wrong, knowing to use the discriminant in that equation is 1 mark. And we have no real solutions or no real roots, so that would be the 3rd mark. If you have a look at the bit I've highlighted, the equation has no real roots, so it can't reach 70 meters, and that final justification is the 3rd mark. Okay, we'll then look at the other method. I feel as if methods 1 and 2 are very similar. Method 2 is a bit different, and I don't like it because it's more guess and check than it is mathematical. So I wouldn't use method 2 because it's less mathematical, and more relying on trial and error, which in some questions is not allowed, but I would avoid it. So method 1, the 1st mark would be for finding that the maximum turning point is dictated by t equals 8. That would be t is 8 is 1 mark. Finding the maximum height is the 2nd mark. So knowing that the height, the maximum, is 64 is the 2nd, and the 3rd mark is for the conclusion. So we'll have a look at this. I mean, they've done it a bit differently to me. They've said it only reaches 64, but if you have a look here, they used exactly what I did. So that's 3 marks for that. If you didn't compare the 64 and the 70, that would be only 2 marks. That's exactly how you do that question. There's 2 ways to do it. It'd be interesting to find out which way you thought was better, so leave a comment and let me know. But thank you once again for watching. Hope it was useful.